Welcome to Glaucoma Traveller, Episode 7, my trip to Orkney. So I started my journey from home and got the bus to Birmingham New City Station. I'd booked my journey months ago and I got the 10:15 service from Birmingham New Street to Edinburgh Haymarket, which is we're going to change trains. And then from Edinburgh Haymarket to Aberdeen. So the journey on the Avanti West Coast, Pendolino, wasn't too bad actually. They still have these rubbish luggage racks which you can only fit a very small amount of luggage, considering you're going from one part of the country to the other. Absolutely really ridiculous. But I managed to get my cases in the luggage rack. I had a reserved seat, fortunately. And unfortunately, one of the trains was cancelled, and so they all piled on to my train, and it was a bit of a tight squeeze to get to the shop. I can tell you, the exit service wasn't working because all these people were just standing in the vestibule ends, and it was terrible. But the actual train ride was actually great, actually, and I got to my destination at Haymarket in plenty of time for my connection. The one thing I would say about the journey from Haymarket to Aberdeen was I wasn't all that impressed with the Azuma train on LNER. There are digital displays on the outside of the train, and these didn't show up very well, and it was a sunny day. It was a sort of average sunny day. It wasn't too difficult to see things. But these displays were difficult to see actually on the outside of the trains. And of course, I was in standard class because I'm not paying the ridiculous prices for first class all the way up to Aberdeen. I mean, it's a ridiculous price. They're wanting over £300, in some cases £400 return. And I'm not paying that. I found £120 return bad enough in standard class all the way up to Scotland, but I'm certainly not going to pay £400 just for maybe a free meal and a better seat. But then again, you do get a better seat in first class, and that would have been appreciated on the LNER service. The seats were absolutely terrible. They're so hard and uncomfortable. And this was a 2.5-hour journey from Haymarket to Aberdeen. And I must say, these are the worst seats I've sat on any train. The only thing I can compare it to was the Midland Metro in Birmingham, where the seats had this very thin layer of covering over these, what can only assume, plastic cubes, which were your seats, a very thin layer of material, and they were very, very uncomfortable. So the LNER need to pull the finger out and replace these seats because they are absolutely awful. Anyway, I got to Aberdeen. I think it was about 5 o'clock. I think something like that. And I'd booked myself into a hotel because I knew I wanted to have a bit of a rest after the journey, because I mean, from 10:15 in the morning to past 5 o'clock in the in the evening, that's a long journey time. And I thought, well, I'll book a hotel. I looked at some hotels in Aberdeen and I thought there's an Ibis one next door to the hotel, to the station actually, just next door. And I looked at booking that and I thought, I'm not paying £90 for one night. £90 for one night in early June, and obviously no meals, so the meals were extra, of course, and I think breakfast was extra. I think so. That could have been £120. Easy for a meal and your breakfast in the morning. I thought, I'm not paying that. It's a ridiculous amount of money. And so there was, across the road from the station was the station hotel. And so I did book this all in advance, and it was, I think it was about £45, I think it was. That didn't include breakfast. That was just for the room. And of course, it didn't include an evening meal. But I thought £45. I mean, you know, if you spend £15, £20 on a meal, and you know, I think breakfast as well I paid for. I think that's a tenner or something. That's still cheaper. It's still cheaper than what Ibis was wanting. It was an okay hotel. You can tell it was an old grand hotel. The room was perfectly nice. I didn't expect a lot for my £45, but it was a nice, comfortable bed. And the staff were absolutely brilliant at the station hotel. Absolutely brilliant. Couldn't praise them enough, actually. And so, once I arrived there, and I said, look, I need to book a taxi for the following morning. I need to go to Aberdeen Airport. And said, oh, well, you're probably best to book a taxi an hour and a half before you need to go, because of the time it might take to come. So I booked a taxi for 9:30. Or was it 9 o'clock? It was certainly 9:30. Anyway, my flight wasn't until 2 o'clock. Well, about 2:30, I think it was. And so that's a long time to wait. But I decided I'd rather be there early and sit down, relax, and just chill out. And once you're there, you're there. Of course, we're still sort of seeing these incidents at airports where security was bad and baggage was being, not loaded or unloaded properly. So I thought I'll give myself plenty of time. And so we got to the airport. I thought, I am early, so I just walked up to I booked a flight with Loganair. So I thought, right, I'll go to Loganair and just say, because I think I booked assistance as well, you see. So I said, I know I'm too early. And I said, don't worry, I know I'm too early. It's for the Kirkwall flight. I know I'm too early. But I booked assistance. She said, oh, you just need to go. So they told me where to need to go, and it was basically turn to my right and walk probably 50, 60 yards away, And I went to the assistance place, and very nice. And I said, I know I'm early. I knew it was. I said, he said, look, tell you what we'll do. He says, come back to me about 10 to 12, and we'll get everything sorted. And I said, no, that's fine. So he said, go and get yourself a cup of tea or something. So actually, I went to the pub at the end just afterwards, and they do breakfast rolls and stuff. And I thought it was too early in the morning for something to drink. So I had a cup of coffee, a bacon roll, and I'm sat there sort of twiddling my thumbs. And it gets to the point where I need to go to see the assistance part of the airport, and they take me over to Loganair, get myself all sorted out, and I'd bought a wheeled bag, small wheeled bag with me, and my photographic bag. And I just thought, this photographic bag may be a problem. I might not be able to take it on the airplane. So they said, well, rather than that, we'll just put it in the hold. So I took, fortunately, it's a photographic bag where my gear actually comes out in a little case. So I took that out and zipped the bag back up together, sort of thing. And they put it into the hold. And there was nothing extra to pay, fortunately, because it was under the weight allowance that I had. So that was good. So that then took me through security, which I hadn't been through security in years. This is my first flight in about probably 6-7 years. And anyway, I got everything out and everything, and I'm walking through you're walking through the metal detector and it beeps. I thought, oh God, what have I done? Anyway, I'd left a 10p piece in my pocket. So I took that out, put it into the bin, walked through again, no beeps, right? And but what I had done is I'd put all my batteries and things that I needed all in the little case that had my photographic gear in, so that all that was on the plane. So I took all that through and everything. It was quite a decent process, actually. I mean, I know what to do now. Once if I fly again, got it all worked out. And the thing was, oh, are you wearing a belt? I said, yes, I am, but it's plastic because I had these walking trousers on. It's not a plastic belt, and so that didn't set the scanner off. So that's fine. So we go through security. And they pop me down and wait for the. It said, right, you can sit here in this area, which is where all the people that have accessibility go to, and you sit there and you wait. And then an announcement comes over. So Mr. Fox is thinking, oh right, okay. So something that she couldn't, she hadn't seen me. Anyway, I made my way to where the gate was. Because it's only a small airport. It's not huge. It's just that I hadn't been there before. And so anyway, she said, "Oh, Mr. Fox." I said, "Yes, all right, that's fine. We'll get you on." So she got me through to the front of the queue, and I had my boarding pass and everything ready and everything, my passport, and got on the plane. I must say, the Logan air crew were absolutely brilliant, really, really good, really good. I didn't book assistance at Kirkwall because I knew it's a very, very small airport. You can't get lost. Anyway, when we arrived at Kirkwall, rather than steps, they had the no-step access, the ramp type to get off the aircraft. Which I thought was really good, actually. I thought, so I went through the airport and got my case, and got my photo backpack, and I wandered outside. I thought, because I knew I was going to get a taxi, and I knew there was a bus, because the taxis and the buses arrive at the airport because they know roughly when the flights arrive. Anyway, I'm ready to the bus stop, and this taxi pulls up. I thought, oh, I'll get a taxi. So he pulls up and said, you need to go to Kirkwall. You need to go to the Orkney Hotel in Kirkwall. I said, oh, yeah, that's all right. That's no problem. So he takes me there. We have a chat, and he's chatting away. And I said to him, I said, well, yeah. Oh, I'm going to Skara Brae tomorrow. I booked to go to Skara Brae. Oh, he says, we can do that. He says, I'll phone it in. What time do you need to be there? I said, well, my ticket's for 10:30. They said, oh, that's fine. I'll pick up about 9:30, something like that. So fine. So the same taxi driver picked me up the following day. Mike, his name was. And we'd had a conversation previously, the previous day as we were going. And I looked at the bus services. The bus services were okay, but they just did the main routes. So if you went anywhere on the main road, you were fine. But if I wanted to go to Skara Brae or any of those sites, no. They dropped you off on the road and it's a 2-mile walk. And that's fine in good weather, But the roads are not, the verge on the road is not wide enough in some areas to walk on. So that's a bit dangerous. So anyway, he picked me up on the Tuesday morning. This was the Tuesday. They took me to the hotel. And so on the Wednesday morning, picked me up. And I said to him, because we talked about a tour, because the actual taxi firm does tours. So we'll talk about the tour now as a separate. And anyway, the Mike and the taxi driver said, we do tours, and it's £45 an hour. I thought, okay. He says, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to go to Skara Brae and I want to go to the Ring of Brodgar, because those two are sort of in the same area. He said 3 hours should do that, no problem at all. I said, okay, let's go for it then. So I said, so instead of just going to Skara Brae and then coming back to Kirkwall and what have you, he took me to Skara Brae. I spent a bit of time in Skara Brae, and I'll talk about this a little bit later. And then we went to the Ring of Brodgar, and then by the time we'd done that, we went back to Kirkwall, but we went around the scenic route, and so we went past Scapa Flow. Well, Scapa Flow in historical terms is where the British fleet was in the First World War, and the German fleet scuttled their ships there. And so we went past there. I went past that Highland Park distillery, which is one of the 2 distilleries on the island that do whiskey. And then it was a really nice tour, and he talked to me about the island, and he talked to me about what was what and everything. And it was really nice tour. And I thought, well, yes, it was £135 at the end of it, but I think I got the money worth. And he was a nice bloke as well, so that made it even better. And so he dropped me off at the hotel. And I said, can I book you for tomorrow? Because I need to go to Maeshowe Chamber, Cairn. He said, yeah, that's fine, we'll book you in. And I told him the time. He said, no, that's no problem, we'll get you there. And so I went back to the hotel then, I dropped all my gear off a little bit there, and I thought, I need something to eat now. So I'm not vegan, but just across the road from me was a vegan cafe. I thought, oh, I'll give this a try. So I had a coffee and a vegan pastry. It's like it described it as fancy pan, but it had chocolate with it as well. Oh, it was quite nice. And so that's all I had, and I thought, oh, I'll have that, and then I thought I'll have a wander around, and I wandered around the Kirkwall a little bit, and I went to the museum, which was really interesting. It's only small, but it's a large building, but it's sort of up and down, up and down. Now, I will say this: it is a bit difficult for people if you've got mobility problems. I will say that. Lots of stairs, and some of the stairs are a bit winding, and there are ramps that go through into each room a little bit sometimes. But I say it's a bit tricky if you're in a wheelchair or anything like that. I quite enjoyed that actually. I took loads and loads of photos of in the museum and stuff and what have you. I found Kirkwall, which is the main town of the Orkney Islands. I found it to be really fairly accessible actually. I mean, you've got to remember that some of the roads, especially to my hotel, aren't all that wide. They're about as wide as the width of one car and a little bit either side. So you need to be aware that you can step to one side and the car will pass you by quite easily, but in no way is it a 2-car width road. And so you have to be careful about that. There are sort of cobbles on the floor, but they're not the old-fashioned cobbles, the round cobbles. But generally speaking, the pavements are just like any other town you'd find in the UK. But what I would say is some of the town is quite closed in. I mean, obviously it's on an island, and of course you'll get lots of wind and rain in the winter months. So it's designed in such a way to be that when you're walking through the streets, although you'll get rain on, no doubt, that the wind will be protected a little bit from the wind. The traffic lights and pedestrian crossings are like any other place. I did go to the port, and there are a couple of areas. There's one area where the actual ferry, the Orkney ferry, the Cairn ferry stops, and on the side you'll get the Arnalai lifeboat. And then a bit further in the distance, there is a docking area for the big cruise ships, which they get about 200 every year, which is quite a lot considering you think the actual population in Kirkwall is about 20,000. A cruise ship could be 6,000 people. You think about 6,000 people descending on a small town, and all of a sudden they've got to gear up and produce food and drink and what have you for these people, and that's 200 times a year. So yes, the top end is 6,000, but the bottom end could be only 1,000 or so, or 500, depending on the size of the ship. But you think about that every that coming to you, and you're thinking, right. So the actual Orkney Council are limited the number of ships to come to 200, because they just at one point they just couldn't cope with the demands of them all. And so certainly the dock part where you walk to the ferries is accessible. It's all level, and there's a designated walking area that you stick to walk, so it separates you and traffic. But it's just one road, so there's no actual barrier between you and the cars going down. So you need to be careful there. I didn't go on the ferry, so I can't comment on the ferry. So because I flew. But what I will say is my hotel was really, really nice. I didn't see a lift. I might be wrong, but I didn't see a lift. But I went upstairs. My room was upstairs. It was a really nice room as well. Ensuite bathroom, and it was one of those jacuzzi baths. And so it was just a nice room, really nice room. Staff were absolutely brilliant, really nice. Couldn't do enough for you. Breakfast in the morning was nice as well. Proper Scottish breakfast, and the meals. I took the view that I was going to have the meals in the hotel at night time, and they were really nice. I had this pie. steak pie, and I'm usually not, I'm not, it doesn't really bother me. But there's so much in the steak pie that in the end, I couldn't eat it all. And but then I wanted to leave some room for some ice cream, so I didn't eat it all. But all the other things like I think I'd haddock and chips, that was really nice. And I had scampi and chips, I think it was, as well. That was really nice as well. So, I mean, the food was really nice. Yeah, it's good pub grub. But I certainly think that as far as accessibility around the Kirkwall, it's pretty good, actually. And you'll find most of the shops you get on the mainland there as well. I mean, there's a Boots there and stuff like that, and plenty of banks and stuff. So, you're not short of taking money out and things like that. The only real, for me, the accessibility part, which I thought was poor, was the buses. I mean, for me, I think they missed a trick. And I said to Mike, the taxi driver, I said, I don't want to do you out of a job, but I think they could at least had buses which link to the actual main historic areas. There's a bus that goes to Skara Brae, which is very infrequent. It's like 9:30 in the morning, and the next bus is about 5:30. That's not good to anyone. Well, I suppose if you're at the RSPB centre and you just bird watching all day, then maybe that's okay. But at Skara Brae, if you want to go to the Ring of Brodgar, you've got no chance. I mean, the bus doesn't even drop you off on the Ring of Brodgar. It goes straight through and straight onto the RSPB centre. So, and saying that Maeshowe, no bus there. I really do think they need to up the game here a little bit. If all they had to do is a bus that goes from Kirkwall to Ring of Brodgar, and then Ring of Brodgar, and then Skara Brae, make it an hourly service back, and then for Maeshowe, same thing, an hourly service to the visitor centre there. Because from the visitor centre, they take you by a bus to Maeshowe. So, a bus that drops you off at the visitor centre every hour, and an hour return to Kirkwall. And, I'd have been able to do that myself and save £135. But Mike was a very good taxi driver, and I recommend Craigie Taxis. They were very good, even on the day that I had to go back to the airport. Really good. Got me there in plenty of time. But I think if you can drive, then do not worry, you can go anywhere you want. And I would genuinely look at and think about accessibility in hotels before you go, especially if you've got mobility problems or you're a wheelchair user. So that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this little journey, and speak to you soon. Bye-bye.